Hey everybody, it's Wednesday, time for Wisdom Wednesday. Hope everyone's doing well. So last weekend I went to one of my hormone courses, and it's always just nice to review a lot of the things that we have learned in the past and just a lot of the reasons why we do what we do, but also just to reiterate a lot of the points that we've learned in the past and bring it back up to the surface, so to speak. And so this is one of the meetings that is spread out over several different parts, and this is just part one again, and I enjoyed really going back and looking and revisiting just the basics and being reminded of a lot of the reasons why we look at all the hormones that we do. And one in particular that often gets overlooked by a lot of folks is DHEA. Now, DHEA stands for dihydroepiandrosterone, fancy big word for a hormone that is in the lineup of how the body takes cholesterol, which we need in order to make a lot of our hormones. And it is one of the precursors or one of the building blocks for some hormones further down the track, including testosterone and estradiol. But in and of itself, DHEA has important aspects within the framework of our body, particularly balancing cortisol, and also many of the things that we just don't give it enough credit for. So I thought I'd kind of walk through that with you and remind you of much of what it is. I was listening to a podcast today that had a pretty nice mnemonic about how to try to remember it. It was mind, mood, memory, metabolism, and then lastly, immune. Not exactly an M, but you can think of it in those terms. So these 5 M's, if you will: mind, mood, memory, metabolism, and immune. But there's so much that it does in terms of helping us with overall health and wellness and just well-being. We know that it can decrease abdominal fat, that visceral fat, that sort of beer belly fat, if you will, and helps with just insulin action as we get older, meaning that it helps us manage blood sugar and helps us from a metabolic standpoint. Now, we know that DHEA is in the family sort of what we call androgens, meaning that it's more anabolic, it's more protein building than it is tearing down. So it's more of a buildup. And it shifts us from that catabolic state to anabolic state of building. It decreases cardiovascular risks by increasing the lipolysis, or the breakdown of this visceral fat, that internal fat, not the subcutaneous fat that we carry around, but that internal fat, which has a lot of negative aspects to our overall well-being, particularly as we age. So knowing that, it's a really nice supplement to take. It can stimulate our immune system by stimulating T cells, and T cells are a big part of our immune system and helps with the enhancement of the activity of these cells, which is very important for just our overall benefits of the immune system. And therefore, by enhancing these activities can and has been shown to decrease development as well as growth of cancers within the body. It also is very important in bone formation. So if you are leaning towards some osteopenia or even osteoporosis, DHEA can be a powerful adjunct to whatever we're doing to help with bone formation. And we always want to make sure we're taking our K2 with our D to help with bone formation. But we know too that a hormone program, particularly with estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, are very vital for bone, but DHEA is in there plugging away as well. It has been formulated into a vaginal insertion for women postmenopausally for enhancing vaginal tissues for the benefits of being able to continue to be sexually active. And it does so by not also affecting the lining in the uterus if you still have your uterus, which estrogen can, or estradiol can. So it has that benefit, and it just does help with testosterone and improving libido and sexual response. So a lot of these things that we've seen and talked about are pretty amazing when you think about the aspects of our overall well-being. It enhances mood, so it's been shown to helpful as even an adjunct with antidepressant. We know that thyroid also does that. So being part of a well-balanced hormonal program is very helpful. And I often prescribe DHEA, but really because other hormones seem to take precedence, such as estradiol and testosterone, in our minds, we don't really think of it as being as powerful as it is. But being able to balance out cortisol, which is that hormone that helps us, as we age, we get that big middle that so many of us just really don't like, and it can really help balance that cortisol so that it can reduce that visceral and medial fat that we get here in our abdomen. And I just think we just don't want to forget that, and it was nice to be reminded of that at this meeting, and so I hope that that's given you a little bit of understanding about what is that DHEA Dr. Cassad's prescribing. I don't really understand that, and maybe now this has given you just a little bit more of a check into what it is that this particular hormone is and how powerful it can be, and the fact that it has its own receptors. And it's interesting because it is over the counter. You don't really necessarily need a prescription, but we like to prescribe a form that is in a sustained release form that allows us to achieve nice, healthy levels. There are a few minimal side effects, nothing that's really health related, but it can cause some skin breakouts and some hair growth in the body that may be not as desirable. But other than that, really, it's just such a powerful, wonderful hormone that we can utilize, and each of us can find a sweet spot where we can tolerate it and utilize it. Now, we do know that as we age, we tend to tolerate it better in terms of our skin, and we have found that really high doses as we get really older and older can help with joint pain too. So we just don't want to let that become something that we just are not familiar with and are not utilizing within the framework of our hormone program. You all have a great week, and we'll talk again next week.